Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep. With your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this Monday edition of Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep. Spencer Israel here with Joel Elconin and Dennis Dick. On today's show, we are talking about the continued resiliency of this market. We find ourselves now at the top of the recent trading range. So we'll talk about Jerome Powell's comments from last night, combined with last week's action and what it means for today's session and really this entire week here and what we can try to discern as far as sentiment is concerned. A couple other individual movers on our radar. We got some good news this morning from Moderna that is helping things as well. And our guest is Kevin Schultz. He is the chairman of Triad Securities. He would join the show at 8:35, and we would talk about the increased spate of secondary offerings on the market right now, especially in shall we say, distressed industries. So that'll be at 8:35. In the meantime, I will throw it to Joel now. Joel, give us a quick update on what happened in the overnight session.
Oh, major green on the screen. A little bit of a higher open, a slight dip, and then Jerome Powell. I don't know if it was the same Jerome Powell that we listened to speak on Wednesday, but this market caught a bid. Hasn't looked back. We've moved up even another 20 handles in the last hour. Pre-market going to give you that pre-market low. We're never going to go that low again. 28.50. Pre-market high 29.1850. Last Monday's close 29.2275. Last week's high 39.25. High of the move 65. So pick your poison there on the upside. Crude participating in the rally big time, up 262 at 32.13. Gold knocking on the door of 1,800, up 1440 at 1770.80. Silver strong once again. I think this thing's moved $2 in 2 weeks, up 4.75%. That's 81 cents at 1788. Bitcoin doesn't want to be left out in the rally either. That's trading up $285 at 9,680. Let's bring in Triple D. And first of all, Triple D, on Friday, we had Spencer's birthday. Today, happy Victoria Day.
I know, I'm supposed to be having a holiday here today. What am I doing here? Look at me. I don't even take holidays. Do I get holiday pay for this?
You do.
I must be getting double time right now.
What do you do on Victoria Day?
I trade stocks, apparently, and I do radio shows. I obviously don't sit back and relax, or I wouldn't be here. I should be saying, hey, I'm Canadian here. I get the holiday.
I would have.
You're half Canadian, so you should get half the day off.
Okay, that sounds
Spencer's
good.
the only one that should be here for the full time. So Joel's going to leave. Here's the thing. I'm going to leave now. Joel's going to leave at 8:30, and Spencer, you got to run the whole show because it's Victoria Day. I actually didn't even realize it was Victoria Day until yesterday. You know, you lose track of days here when every day is like Groundhog Day. But obviously, I follow the U.S. calendar because I primarily trade U.S. stocks. So my holiday, I guess, will be next Monday.
All right. Well, I mean, you guys disputed me a little bit. I said, is that the same Jerome Powell that spoke on Wednesday that spoke last night? And you guys
we're going to take it easy a little bit. Not now. But just print money forever. We'll do anything. We're not going to run out of ammunition no matter what. If the stock market starts going down, we'll buy stocks. We'll do whatever. I don't think he said that.
No, he didn't. He didn't say that.
Did he actually say that?
No.
Did he say we'll buy stocks?
No, at least not the part that I saw.
He pretty much hinted at it.
There's a different part that I missed. But no, he said the biggest thing for me was that he said that the Fed's not even close to running out of ammunition. And there's really no limit to what they can do as far as lending. So that was my biggest takeaway.
Do you want to hear what I think happened?
What?
I think that Donald called him up and said, "What did you say on Wednesday? You better go on 60 Minutes and you better talk bullish, or you can join." Who did he fire on Friday night? The entire Interior Secretary? He said, "You pack, Jerry. You get out there and you get bullish, or I'll pack your bags." So
You know what? It wouldn't surprise me at all.
What one possible scenario?
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all. And we want negative rates.
Whatever. Buy bonds. Buy
stocks,
spoos.
buy bonds, and we want negative rates because I need to get reelected. Now get out there and let them know that you're going to defend this market no matter what. Go. Good job.
I wonder if that was the same guy. Do you think that was maybe just like a mannequin, or or just like they cloned him and they put him up there to make him talk like that? Or do you think it was really him?
I don't know.
All right, let's.
You're just saying because it's such a change from what he was saying.
To me, it is.
Week.
I don't know. Do people agree with me or not?
We know the Fed. The Fed was always. We've said this for the last 2 months. The Fed is the whole reason the market is where it is. The Fed is what you're fighting when you're shorting stocks. It's pretty much the only bull case. It's pretty much the bull case is the Fed. So if he throws in the towel at any time and say, "Look, there's nothing more we can do," the market crashes. So he's not going to say that. I mean. But here it is. This market wants to find the silver lining. You could call this the perfect storm for the shorts here because you got Powell on 60 Minutes talking up the market, saying we'll defend it no matter what. So you think the Fed puts in. And then you've obviously got this Moderna news that happened about a half an hour ago. And let's jump into that news because the first initial trials look pretty good. And the stock's up 26%, but the market has rallied significantly from that point in time too. We've tacked on another 20 S&P handles because what this market wants is the Fed to back it up, and it wants a vaccine or a cure. Well, it's getting 2 of the 3 this morning, so that's why we're up 500 points.
All right, 7:30 this morning, a PR dropped saying Moderna announces positive interim phase 1 data for their vaccine against the novel coronavirus, and that is all it took.
Party time. Excellent. Remember that movie? Where's that one from?
Don't say it. It's Wayne's World.
Party time. Excellent. Yeah, it's Wayne's World and obviously from Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
I loved Wayne's World. Mike Myers is awesome. But anyways.
He's Canadian. That's why you like him.
Yeah, of course. We love our Canadians here. So jump over here and let's analyze this situation here. So again, same thing. Buying rips. I'm just saying it backwards. Buying dips and selling rips. That's the way this money has been made in this market for the last month. It's going to continue to be made in this way. I do not believe buying the rip is the way to go. I believe that's the way to lose money. So you had 2 opportunities to buy stocks. One was if you were following the Twitter account of me Thursday morning when Wells Fargo started to go green, that felt like the market could turn. I tweeted it then. SPY was 277 then. Jeez. Second opportunity was Friday morning when they pulled back. I was hoping we'd get down to 280 SPY. We didn't quite get down there. I added 2 stocks to my long-term portfolio. Wish I would have added more. Obviously, we ripped up all day Friday, and now you just get to tack on punishment for the bears. So if you're coming in here and buying stocks now, you're 150 points behind on the S&P from where the stocks were basically trading day and a half ago, Thursday morning. So I think if you're buying them now, you're doing it backwards. This is the time to take profits, in my opinion. We could continue to go higher. I think there's easily room up to the high of the move, 294.88 and then 294.24. Easily 20 more handles here, potential possibility for today even. But, and then you got the overhead supply, going to come in 300, but it's hard. This market's so tough. Like, when early Thursday morning, I was nervous, and then I saw Wells Fargo turn, and I was nervous about the bank. So if I'm long stocks, I don't want to see the banks start to roll over again. The market needs the banks. Yes, there's a lot of people that believe it doesn't, but I've already broken down the case. If you're thinking that Wells Fargo can go down to $10 and the market will still be at all-time highs or going all-time highs, you're wrong. Wells Fargo stabilizes here, stops going down. It's good for stocks. That's what turned the market on Thursday was the banks. Now it's everything else. It's Powell and obviously the Moderna news, and now we're off to the races here again. So that's good news for the bulls. But you've got to analyze that we're still in a situation here where there's a lot of worries. I'm not coming in here and chasing stocks. I believe you will get more dips to buy.
Several things there. First, let's go to the Moderna. That's trading up 17.48,
Holy
26% at 84.17. Good volume changing hands here. I will just tell you folks 86.50. You made the high on the last bracket. You're working on the high at this bracket at 86.47. So someone's working a little bit of a piece. It's $2 away. If you want a potential exit point, there it is for MRNA. As far as like the overall market, we kind of talked a little bit last week about maybe a 27.50 to 29.50 trading range. I didn't think we would do it from Thursday morning to Monday morning, but there I go thinking again. Last week's high 39.25, and then the ultimate high of the move here is 29.65. And then also, you talk about the perfect storm here, and I know if you guys,
For sure.
this is as much as I've read my bearings here so far this weekend.
What's it say on it? Hold it up further.
I'm thinking of canceling it because
vaccine. No, they were ahead of that. They knew.
Yeah,
that's on Saturday morning. So vaccines. So they knew the Moderna news.
Yeah,
it's just a joke. But
yeah, I don't know. I used to read it. I've been reading it for 100 years. I don't know. It's like reading our show from last week. I mean, it's kind of not too much forward looking stuff, but anyways, there you go. There's the news, and we're off to the races. Crude helping out up 256 here. They're talking, more cuts and supply increasing. So what more, people
you
are
got crude
doing?
too. So you have three things. So you have a lot. Obviously, one concern here today, if you were hiding out in all those COVID plays, they are probably going to weaken a little bit. And if you look this morning, you were already seeing that trade start to happen. If you're in Peloton this morning, you're down 3%. You're saying, why is Peloton down when the market is up? Because Peloton is a play against the market right now. It is actually, believe it or not, inversely correlated. We talked about this. Those COVID hiding spots are a play on the lockdown. So when you start getting vaccine news, that's actually bad for Peloton. Understand all these intricate relationships. Yes, sometimes, really it doesn't make sense. But when you think logically how this market is playing, Peloton is hot because they think that the lockdown could continue for a while. Get a vaccine, that all changes. Everybody starts coming out of their caves. So a little bit of positive vaccine news is actually bad for Peloton. You can jump over, same thing, into Zoom video. I haven't brought it up yet, but yeah, there it is. It's down $4. Why is it down $4? Again, that's a play on the lockdown. Today we have news that Moderna, obviously, vaccine, that could potentially get us out of the lockdown faster if that continues. We're a long ways from that, but that is why Zoom video is down. Assuming Teladoc, same thing. I haven't brought it up yet. Bring it up. Yes, it's down $2.68. So you can see what is going to be weak here today. Netflix trading down here this morning. Again, your gaming stocks probably going to show some weakness. Same story. So just remember those relationships because they're very important to understand when you're day trading. For you longer term investors, it's a different story. But I wouldn't own Peloton in my long-term investment account because valuation doesn't make any sense to me. And Joel does. So he still thinks the story continues. It's been working very well for him. So that's how I trade. I understand those relationships. I'm a relationship trader, and understanding those relationships can make you some money.
Lisa's seeing patients in the office today. She sent me, this is like first time in 2 months. She sent me pictures, and she's all geared up. She's looked like she's going to fight a war. But yeah, she's geared up to see patients in the office. So things are getting back a little bit to normal along those lines. Teladoc is trading in the red here by 346. Let's go back to Friday a little bit. We got some 13Fs, right? Was that later on Friday, Spencer? Did we talk about that on the 340 show?
Yeah, I mean, most of them were came in Friday in the afternoon. Nothing, I was surprised, not a lot of movement off of the filings. The most notable was probably Buffett reducing his stake in Goldman Sachs. He also, I believe, reduced his stake in Phillips 66 and Travelers, right? Those were the three that, he liquidated Travelers and Phillips 66 entirely, and he reduced his stake in Goldman Sachs. But I didn't see too much follow through. He's the most followed, and I didn't see too much action on the charts.
Someone bought Peloton though, right? Didn't it go to $49?
A few people bought Peloton, I believe. Let me go into
It was
the
trading
pro.
49. I sold it in the pre-market at 40.
Yeah, George Soros
Yeah.
increased his stake in Peloton.
I sold Peloton in the pre-market here around 7 a.m. at 49. So if you're up early, sometimes you
Are
take
you
advantage.
sure?
I sold it this morning at 7 o'clock a.m. 49.84. I sold it. I had it long. I sold it overnight. I should have went short, obviously, but I was moving on. But I just had a feeling that this thing could probably give it back
Holy
to the red.
mackerel, that's a great sale there.
Because people are up early and they're just like, well, buy stocks, everything's going to be up. Buy Peloton, it's going to be up. Again, they're not respective of these relationships. So the person who buys that stock loses money because they're not respecting the relationships. We got to understand, respect those relationships.
Well, at 7 a.m., no one knew that Moderna was going to have good news out.
That too. But even when the market's up,
up.
Peloton often will go down. You can go, it's been that way for a while here. You've seen these stocks move the opposite to the market. Not always, but there's a loose relationship there. But definitely the vaccine then would have carried it. It's true, Spencer. So like at 7:30, then it got uglier. But I wouldn't be, if the market's up 1%, I wouldn't be buying up Peloton up 2.5%. No way. If the market's down, then it's interesting, but you've got to be careful with those relationships. But as soon as the vaccine news hit, that was the key to sell those COVID stocks. So 7:30, you got to get out of those COVID stocks. And even look at like defensive stocks like Clorox. Same thing. Clorox is down. These relationships are very prevalent here right now. So good vaccine news, bad for those COVID plays. Probably bad for Kramer's COVID index on the vaccine news in certain cases. Now, Amazon was already trading in the red, and that was off a Google headline from Friday night. Spencer, can you give us a Google headline? Because that was knocking Google down over 20 points Friday night. It's bounced back with the overall market, but there was some concerns here from the government about Google.
Yeah, I got to go way far back in my memory and in my pro. It was, what was it, the DOJ? I'm going from memory here. It was the DOJ.
Friday night.
State attorneys general are likely to bring an antitrust lawsuit against Google. That was from the Journal, citing sources.
Yeah, right after the close on Friday, Google fell significantly. If you bring up that chart, Joel, you'll see it. It dropped about $30 in 30 seconds. So Algo's just slamming it on that headline. Obviously bouncing back with the overall market. I still own Google in my long-term account. I still think it's one of the best tech companies out there. The valuation is not extreme. On dips, I would be buying Google if I didn't already own a pile of it. But Google is, that's the reason it's down here this morning. So, and it got down to, how low did we get Friday night?
We got down to 13.30.
Down $40.
I mean, come on. If you're hitting this thing at 4:15 on a Friday in the after hours,
Too much.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Giving up the edge like that. Holy mackerel. And it yesterday's low, I mean, then let's see what the low from Friday was. Low from Friday was 13.39, if you were paying any attention to that. Bouncing a little bit. I'll just give you, just hanging out here at 13.70. Your rebound high off that has been 13.70.75. So kind of tough call here on the rebound. But I mean, you hear this every couple months about Google, right? Or Amazon or antitrust or whatever.
The government's had concerns for years on this. It's true.
So,
this isn't like a headline that's just out of the blue. It was a little bit out of the blue for Google because they were Amazon too. They had issues with as well. It was DOJ, I think, was having issues with Amazon a while ago. But Amazon was trading down in sympathy with that as well. So your hiding place in your mega caps actually probably isn't the stocks that's going to fly here today. What stocks are flying here today, it's a dash for trash. It's the dash for trash. You're going to see the airlines absolutely flying. I mean, nobody wants vaccines more than the airlines. The airlines are teetering on, potential bankruptcy if we don't get a vaccine by the end of the year. So any type of vaccine news is going to lift the airlines something fierce. Think of all of those like ground zero plays. Those will all lift on vaccine news. So I'm sure Carnival Cruise Lines up 8%, Norwegian, even the House of Mouse trading up 4%. And come on, Disney, $113 now on Disney.
Whew.
I mean, you better hope if you're buying it $113. I'd be really hoping that vaccine comes sooner than later, because this stock is now trading where it was back in April of last year, and everything is closed for it. The
No,
common sense on this.
not Disney Springs. Don't
Oh yeah,
discount.
the outdoor mall or the outdoor, Disney, downtown Disney apparently open, but Shanghai open at 30% capacity, but there's park tickets available if you want them. So unbelievable how, this market just continues to find the silver lining in everything. I would not be buying Disney stock at $113. I mean, it can't go higher from here. No, if they're going to rally on vaccine, it can continue, but Disney never even got slammed like some of the other ones, and I think it's still a ground zero play. So I'm going to be a long time before Disney gets back to the revenues that they had, and even in the first quarter of this year. Just my opinion.
Switch topics here. Did Powell say anything about QE for marijuana stocks or cannabis? Did he say anything about that?
That's ripping higher. Again, the reverse split. These stocks can do funny things after these reverse splits, but it's still ripping higher here. Squeeze them. I mean, we're in full short squeeze mode again. Squeeze them.
Boy, that had a
two-day move here.
Big day. Almost doubled on Friday. Doubled on Friday. Huge volume came into that stock. So the algos were like, hey, we're just buying. This is like 11:20 close. I wonder how low we got it after hours. Boom, 11:22. You could add this stock at 11:22. Early in the morning, after hours, it traded 1070, 1080. So this is just computers just waking up and like, up big volume. Buy. Where this stops, I don't know. Let's see here. Boom. 1236. Where are we trading at now? We're trading above that. Next target for you bulls, 1356. Oh, it's even been over that. It's been up to 1490. Holy mackerel. This ain't
Again,
trading for 1490, Dennis.
But put it in perspective. When you do these reverse splits and the stock's at $12 or $14, I mean, we watched Chesapeake after its reverse split, which is, potentially going bankrupt here, go from $12 in 4 days up to 41. It's very dangerous to short these stocks after these reverse splits because funny things like this happen, and they can really rip them. And you put it in perspective and you think of it, what was the reverse split? What was the amount on AC?
It was 1 for 12.
1 for 12. So again, you think about that, it's really still down here at like $1. So, from that perspective, the person who bought it, and just looking, a month or two ago is still down money. So it can squeeze them a bit. This is a play and a hope that the company isn't going bankrupt. I'm going to go with Gordon Johnson. He says he thinks it's a zero. I think eventually it could be a zero, but stocks, even when they go bankrupt in this market, don't go straight to zero. I mean, we saw PCG obviously not go straight to zero either, and it's up here this morning again, still trading $12 despite being bankrupt. So just because you're bankrupt doesn't necessarily mean your stock's going to zero, but I don't like buying stocks that are burning cash and losing money and potentially going bankrupt. So this isn't going to go in my long-term portfolio, but as a trade, squeezing them a bit. It's squeezing them a bit. But again, it's like a hot potato. You get in there, even Chesapeake was the same story. You get in there, ride a little bit, but it starts to turn. Don't get stuck with it because trash is trash.
Is it pulling up Canopy Growth and the other stocks?
Oh, yeah. They're all ripped on Friday, and they're ripping again here this morning. But again, the overall market's pulling those stocks up here too because this is full-on dash for trash. Pot stocks have been trash here for a while. So they're going to be hot here this morning because this market is looking into the ditches and seeing what it can pick up here. And retail stocks probably flying here this morning too. Yeah, Kohl's. Look at Kohl's this morning.
They report 6%. Tomorrow. Let's take a look at Kohl's.
KSS. I mean, $15. Bounced there a few times. Look at this level, Joel. That's the Harlem Pie chart, man. You see what you got down April 23rd? 2 days ago when everybody's throwing in the towel before the Wells Fargo turn, we were trying to take it out, 1531. Wells Fargo turned. And, it brought up all the other, stocks that have been in the gutter here too. Now you get some positive Moderna data, which is good for department stores because we get a vaccine sooner. People are going to start going back out to their big box and their stores and start shopping again. So again, understanding those relationships. Moderna, positive results, very good for Kohl's.
Let's take a look. They report tomorrow, but they're usually after the close or in the morning, Spencer.
Let me look it up for you right now.
Moderna's up. Look at Moderna. It's up 25.
They're before they open tomorrow.
Someone made a comment. Oh, 92.53.
It's
I
Moderna.
guess it took out 86.50, folks.
People are just get so yeah. Look, you see how fast this is trading. It is just trading so incredibly fast. Like, I mean, it is all algorithmic driven here. A lot of this when it's trading that quickly. So unbelievable.
I mean, it's going to $100, right, Dennis?
I don't know where it's going. This again, you know, you got to put this in perspective here too. Yes, it's great. It's good news that the trials are going well.
It's only phase one.
It's early.
I know,
so again, I don't want to be short this time. They're going to rally at 50% every time it goes through a little bit of positive results on a phase. This thing's going to be $1 bazillion by the end of this. So I don't know. $91. A lot of good news priced in there, guys and girls.
Mitch said in phase one they just hope people don't die from the drug.
I thought they were using it on a mice.
Really?
No, I don't know.
No, he's not. No.
The mouse lived.
They're using
how many people who signs up for the phase one trial? Because that sounds scary in myself. Who are these people that sign up for this?
People who are sick.
I guess the people who are sick are
want
very
to get
sick.
better.
No, but this is a vaccine, so they shouldn't be the people who are getting sick. They should be the healthy people. I don't know. I wouldn't want to, like, if I was healthy, I wouldn't shoot myself up with some random vaccine. So I'm just wondering. I'm wondering who signs up for this, but maybe somebody knows.
I'm sure it says it in the press release. It had the number of people that were in this study, but I don't have it in front of me.
Remember that other stock? What was the one that had like 5 people in it? The stock went up like 250%. Some penny stock with 5 people in the trial. There'll be more than that. This is legit. Moderna is the leader here right now. They're leading the way for who's going to get the vaccine first. And there's going to be multiple companies that get it. I still like Sanofi. I sold it. SNY is trading down here, obviously trading over in Europe as well. It's down this morning. Down around 44, 45 bucks if Sanofi comes back. I'll rebuy that stock because they're going to get a vaccine cooking too. But Moderna's smaller
Gilead's hanging out. That thing has tried to pop so many times off that headline. Now it's just kind of tired at 76.
It's tired of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, down here at 75, 76, it's not that bad. I'm not in it this time. I played it, 3 times before, and I didn't jump back in for the 4th time. I don't like the broken trend here either. So, and again, all it takes is a little bit, this remdesivir isn't working very well, and the stock will be at 70 bucks. So I don't know. That's a little bit. I've played that 3-4 times. I don't think the easy money's in there anymore on Gilead. Obviously, Moderna's still flying. I like the vaccine plays. I like Sanofi. I want it lower though. I want Sanofi to pull back down the mid. And it's a big company. Like that's one thing you got to consider. Moderna's going to move a lot more smaller company, right? So you get Sanofi, one of the biggest drug companies over in Europe. They got a lot of their stuff. So vaccine helps a little bit, but
now they're popping the S&Ps here. We are just blasting north.
Blasting shorts out of the water.
I said there was no resistance in here. My buddy, I just wish I would have just pulled the trigger of that. Look at that. Last week's high, 39.25.
We're blowing the shorts away.
Yeah. Yep.
And wait, just one more on the vaccine talk. AstraZeneca also said this morning, that they're aiming to make as many as 30 million doses available in Britain by September. So AZN is up as well.
Again, just for newer traders here to understand, you're not going to see moves in AstraZeneca and Sanofi and Gilead like Moderna because they're such large mega pharmaceutical companies. I mean, AstraZeneca and GlaxoSmithKline are 2 of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world. It's like Pfizer. This is going to be such a small fraction of their overall revenues. They're not going to move like that. Like, what's the market cap of Moderna? Just comparatively, you can just look at market caps and you can get a better feel for how much influence a vaccine can have on Moderna versus a GlaxoSmithKline. I mean, Moderna now a 21. Well, actually, this is a Friday. It was $21 billion company. So it'd be like a $30 billion company. So getting bigger, but most of this move has been on potential vaccine. AstraZeneca, $140 billion company. GlaxoSmithKline, if we just look at these companies are all working on vaccines. That's why I'm comparing. $101 billion company. And then Sanofi, the other one, huge pharmaceutical company over in Europe. It's a $118 billion company. So you can see these companies are, they were almost 10 times the size as of Friday as of Moderna. So that's why you see such an extreme move in a stock like Moderna.
All right, just hit 29.30.50 here. Backed off just a little bit, but just unabashed buying here. In the futures, crude up near the high of the session too, up 241 and 31.93. So everything's strong in the green here this morning. Start the Monday morning out right.
All right, 8:30. Got about 5 minutes before we're going to bring on our guest today. Do we want to look? We already looked at or talked about a couple of 13Fs. Do we want to look at? Oh, we didn't finish going to Kohl's. Let's go back to Kohl's.
All the retailers are hot. I like that Kohl's off the 15. Again, this is a play. I mean, if we're in lockdown, here's the scenarios. We're coming out of this. People are going about their business. We're going to go back, to opening everything up. If the opening goes well, if people don't start getting sick again, a lot of these stocks are going to do pretty good. I mean, Kohl's was not in great shape even coming into this, but it's still, there's potential upside here if the opening goes well. If the opening does not go well, if people start getting sick and they start talking about another lockdown, some of these retailers are going to be in big trouble. So that's a coin flip on this. It's kind of a coin flip. If it goes well, the opening, I don't think the opening is going to go well. That's why I don't want to own any of these stocks. I think we're going to get into a situation in 6 or 8 weeks, or, maybe it's going to be through the summer, September. I think the second wave is going to be bad. So I think eventually you see stocks that, you think might turn it around could be in trouble. That's why I've been buying, different stocks I know are going to be around no matter what, because I don't know. So anything in my long-term portfolio, it's like tech. It's like stocks that are in good shape no matter what. So Amazon too. I mean, Amazon's still kicking Kohl's butt even without COVID. So there's lots to consider, but there's value in COVID if the lockdown, if the reopening goes well.
We're trading at the highs of the pre-market session. That's 1876. If you're looking for some upside targets here, 1964 was April 30th high. And then if you really get going, double top at 2095 and 2108. And this one is still sleepy. I mean, it has not retraced much of its move at all. So, if you think it's up a lot, you think it's shorting it, it's come down from $40 to 15. So I don't know. Bad report. Yeah, you might see something like that. But this one kind of looks like it. I'm not sure what the short interest in it is either. But 1964 and major resistance at 21 for you Kohl's traders.
All right, so the automakers are going back to work today. GM, Ford, Chrysler starting in Detroit, and Tesla going back to work out in California. You want to look
Musk
at Tesla?
won.
Yeah.
He shot the government the middle finger, and the government said, okay.
Basically.
California, at least in the state or the county.
The county, yeah.
The county.
Yeah.
Musk won. Unbelievable.
And guess who got to take pictures of the Chrysler plant reopening at 4 a.m.?
That's an early morning for your daughter. I'm guessing
I know.
It was your daughter.
Yep. I volunteered to go. She goes, oh,
Did
Dad,
you go?
Hell no. I volunteered, but I said, I'll go down there with you. Check it out.
Early morning pictures.
Yeah, she did. I think she's doing that for Bloomberg. They should be out later. But yep, she went down there to the plant and took pictures. GM trading up $1.24. I think she went over the GM plant. There wasn't much going on. You got a really, really good level here to keep an eye on GM rally. You've stuck over $24 a few times and been turned back. We're currently trading at $23.90. Let's go to the daily highs in GM. 24. Ooh, I see a 24.57. And that's about it. I keep an eye. That's been the high of the rebound. I keep an eye 24.57. So only 60 cents away from that. Ford just been a perennial loser for decades.
Yeah.
That's getting a little pop. That's at the high of the session, 513. Fords, I see 3 highs. There's probably thick size anywhere, but let's call it 520. That splits the 3 highs from May 8th through May 12th. Fiat Chrysler, I don't even know. Where's that stock at? $5? Nope. That's at $8. That's trading up 8. That's a nice bounce for that. Next, pair of highs at 8. 3 highs at 850. That's your resistance in Fiat Chrysler.
All right, let's go to our guest now. Kevin Schultz is the chairman of Triad Securities. He's joining us now. First time on the show. First off, Kevin, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys. Good to be here. Thank you for sending the makeup and hair, guys. Really appreciate it.
Nice.
Only the best, especially when we're all working from home. So, Kevin, let's just start off with like broad macro, and then we'll see where the conversation takes us. But we've been talking a lot about companies, industries in trouble here. We've seen a handful, probably more than we're used to, of secondary offerings. Talk to us about what you're seeing as far as trends in the secondary offering market right now.
Well, I take it back to 2009, really, if you want to look at it the same way, where all the banks had to do the refinancing. And that was, Citigroup was coming out. Wells Fargo did a deal. All of a sudden, they would price it at 22. It opened at 24. And now you're seeing this with, the cruise lines, the airlines. I think you're going to start seeing it a lot more with REITs. Oil and gas have to raise money. I mean, everyone needs to raise money. And if you're a public company, are you going to float? Carnival did a whole mess of stuff, right? They did bonds. I think they did 12% bonds. That's pretty hard to, come by, is giving away 12% just to raise money that way. So equity is one of the strongest plays for these guys if they can do it.
So in some cases, it might be the only play. In the case of UAL last week, and nobody even wanted to touch the one offering there. When we were talking, and obviously that was a bond offering, but I mean, you look at the situation with the airlines, and a lot of them are burning serious cash, and we don't know how long consumer habits are going to avoid flying for when people turn their nose up at, I think it was an 11 to 12% UAL. What are your thoughts on that?
What did UAL? They also did 40 million shares, right? So the deals all worked when they brought them, but now the market is taking them down lower. I just think that you're right. I mean, the burning through the cash is the hard part. When are they going to start coming back to normal? Is there going to be a normal? I mean, are people going to be able to sit next to each other on a plane?
Yeah.
People, so how much are they going to be able to fly? How much, what are they going to burn when they're back to doing business? That's certainly not going to start making money. I mean, people are going to start, carrying on their bags. They have to start charging for carry-ons instead of putting them down low.
So what are your thoughts here on all these companies that obviously have to and potentially do some dilution? Are you seeing the trends? And what about companies that are doing well? I mean, we've actually seen some offerings from some companies that are doing well, probably just because the stock price was so high. I mean, let's look at Shopify here. They just recently did an offer. The stock was at an all-time high, and they did an offering. Is that like Shopify just raising cash because the business is going so well here? A completely different story over at Shopify, obviously, in UAL. So what are your thoughts on some of these companies that are doing offerings, maybe because the business is going well?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think you have to look at the biotechs, especially for that, right? I mean, you just talked about Moderna doing one. That's what you're going to see is when these stocks start spiking, they're going to look to raise money. And, they have to bring them down. If they do a book build, they're going to have to, they usually bring them down a couple of points or a couple, percentages, and then they price them a couple of percentages. BlackRock was another great one that came out a week or two ago, and PNC sold their stake in it. I mean, it's trading at 500. They knocked it down to 454, I think, on the close the night before. They priced it at 420, and then it opens up at 460 the next day. I mean, so they're giving people a great opportunity to make money fast if you're playing these stocks.
How do you participate in some of these secondary offerings? So, the general public, it becomes an issue probably that maybe it's not as easy for them to participate. But, we see some of these offerings all the time. Talk about the process of being able to participate, like actually be one of the buyers in these secondary offerings.
Well, if I tell you, I might have to kill you.
That's what I want to know. I want to get some of this free money out here.
Secret stuff, right? I mean, as far as it's, how do people get IPOs?
Yeah.
It's similar. Capital markets controls it. They're looking for institutions to take the bulk of it. Retail is a part of it. And depending on the house, obviously Bank of America does it. You're going to see a lot of Merrill, Morgan Stanley, a lot of brokers are doing it. There's going to be bigger retail than if Goldman does a deal. or JP Morgan. And so secondaries, though, you can get involved. I mean, you can talk to your broker and you can say, I'd like, 1,000 shares of this. I think this is a good place for it to be, and participate on the deals. And you have to follow them and know where they're going and when they bring them out. So they do announce them. Again, a book bill is different than an overnight. An overnight is a shelf. Like today, they just put Bluebird and Turning Point on. Those are two biotechs that are doing well. And are they coming tonight? We don't know yet. They might put them on for this week. They might just put them on the shelf and they can pull them down and do an overnight, in which case it's very hard to get involved unless you're on top of it all the time.
So if you're just,
did that answer your question?
Yeah, to a certain extent. So the smaller retail player probably not going to have as easy an access of time, unless it depends, if you have a brokerage account, maybe like you said at a Merrill, but it's more the full service brokerages that probably can participate in this more than the discount brokerages then. Yeah,
well, discount brokerages really don't have capital markets.
Right.
So you're not looking, that they can't get involved in the IPOs or the secondaries. I mean, I guess you can if you're at Fidelity, they have a chunk that they keep. I don't know if Schwab has a partnership. I think they might with somebody else, but it's very difficult through those places to get pieces of these stocks, but you can trade them. You can trade them in the aftermarket. You can trade them before. You can, do a lot of different things. I mean, but they're, if you want to talk about Reg M and shorting and taking a position, you can do, if you're not taking the deal down, you can short them. And a lot of people do. I mean, in the past, secondaries are also access for large institutions to sell a big position. So because they know it's going to be very liquid and there's going to be a lot of volume that day. So sometimes they look to do that.
Let's talk about some of those trading strategies around these secondaries. I trade them to a certain extent. I'm a prop guy, and I do see, when the pricing's there, I know, and we've talked about this on the show over the last few years, is sometimes that pricing, it depends the type of market you're in, but sometimes that pricing can actually be a magnet. So when you see, a stock trading at $25 and they do an offering down at 22, it usually puts pressure on the stock, probably because of the natural mechanics. Some people getting at 22 are going to turn around and want to short the stock or, get themselves hedged up if they're getting an allocation to try to make themselves as much money as possible. But it always seems like that those pricings also act like a floor sometimes too for the stock. Can you just talk about, maybe some of that trading in the secondary market that happens on these secondary offerings?
Well, I'm going to have to go back in my brain because I traded for 17 years. So,
okay.
And I did trade a lot of deal stocks and things like that. But so yes, there it used to be a floor. Right now, syndicate over the last couple of years, the syndicate bid really does not exist anymore. So when you see a deal priced at 22, they can bring that thing to 20 and a half. They can bring I'll give you an example of one of them was Zillow the other day, did a secondary. It closed at 49.22. They priced it at 48. So they give it a little discount and they opened it at 46.32. So that was not, if you're taking down the deal stock, what do you do then? Again, so it used to be a floor and it used to be a great area to sell it if it got to that syndicate price. And if it broke, then you wouldn't want to be involved. And then you can, trade some volume and, use the upside, if there's a lot of buying in the aftermarket. And again, when you'd see it bounce off of that bid and that price, you would be able to get a little bit of a pop.
Ron, with Kevin Schultz, he is the chairman of Triad Securities. Kevin, speaking of IPOs there, not a ton of impact on the IPO market in Q1 due to COVID. Is really more of a Q2 thing. But that being said, you are seeing or you're observing a change in the winds as far as the types of companies that we're gonna see go to the markets in this way, right? Where you're seeing less unicorns, more profitable companies, correct?
I think that was in the past. I think you're seeing a lot of biotechs as the strongest sector. There were fintech companies that were starting to come out. I think that Select Quote is this week. So that's an insurance company, insurance tech, I believe. You're going to see a little bit of everything. I think they are going to start coming back as this, bounce is happening and the market is, finding its area of trading, and companies need to raise money. Are they going to still be buying them? Well, Facebook just bought that other company. That's really what happened to the IPOs, is you had private equity and other companies just taking over some of these smaller firms before they go to the IPO market.
It seems like sentiment has been pretty negative on the unicorns that have IPO'd. I mean, not entirely, but by and large, a lot of them are just down from their IPO pricing level. What is a positive trend that you're seeing in the IPO market? Is biotech like the positive trend?
Biotech's the positive, and fintech, I think, are the two areas that I would say. I mean, I agree with you. The unicorns are not doing well. I just think that also it's the pricings that the valuations are way too high on a lot of these things, and no one wants to bring them down. There are too many institutions that have bought these companies now, and so they're not interested in pricing them at the level they have to for the public to want to get involved and buy them.
All right, Kevin, you opened up the can of worms there when you said you worked on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. When did you start there, and what was your first job?
In college, I was a clerk for a $2 broker, and my two bosses, one guy traded his own account and was an RCMM, and the other guy had a lot of institutional customers, and he went to the Army, so he knew a lot of people, so they got a lot of orders. And then I got a job. He shook my hand going back my senior year of college and said, "Kevin, you have a job." And so I was like, okay. I went back to school with a job in my pocket, and that was great. And then I just traded for myself for 17 of the years. I ran a small hedge fund, and so I was trading a lot of these stocks back and forth, and I was a portfolio manager at Millennium twice.
Explain the term $2 broker. We don't hear that a lot on the show.
Well, it's gone. That's why. $2 broker was exactly what it sounds like. They used to pay a broker $2 to execute a trade for you before, they got to pennies. And that's when brokers would, you would buy, 120 shares of IBM, and it was a nominal trade. So they would charge you, $4.50, commission on that, which would be $400. So it wasn't that crazy. And you would give the broker $2.
Yeah, that's correct. Do you have a story, like a good story or a bad story, something from your time on the floor, something that's shaped your trading background or knowledge? It could be a good one, bad one. We like to leave out profanity.
Yeah, stay for work, preferably.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to think of. There was a couple scenes from Wall Street, the original one with Michael Douglas, where some of the brokers were involved in on the screen, and I knew some of those guys, so we'll keep that one out. The biggest one, though, like I said, my boss was an RCMM, so registered competitive market makers. There were only 11 of them on the floor, and only 3 that were very, vocal. And what they would do is they would be asked to open up a stock if there was a problem. So, a stock comes out with news and it doesn't trade a lot, and all of a sudden somebody would say, okay, we need you to go open this up. And he would be buying 8,000 shares to open this stock, maybe down or up in a different position. And Alan was a great trader for eighths and quarters. That's another thing that goes back, right? How was that?
Yeah.
20 years, eighths and quarters and teenies. And so he really taught me how to trade at eighths and quarters, and which is 12.5 and 25 cents. So that was pretty good margins then. But I just completely remember when Philip Morris was taking over RJR Nabisco, and the bid went in there, and he traded 500,000 shares himself that day, and the stock traded 3 million on Philip Morris. So he was that much of the volume going back and forth and trading, and it was just it's amazing to see, how one person, he used to read the tape, and that's how he would trade for his eighths and quarters back then, back and forth. So it was a great lesson of how to really watch and be able to trade against the people out there, which now it's impossible because you're trading against computers and everything moves too fast.
Yeah, the old tape reading where it meant something, bids and offers. And now it's like, and I repeat this a lot of times when Dennis and I were, getting started at Bright Trading, when someone came in, depending what the stock was, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, trip nines or something, you knew something was going to happen, whether it's going to be a point away, a point and a quarter away, and now you look at the tape and it's like 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, very hard to interpret, but that's a great story. Thanks for sharing that with
No,
us.
no problem. No problem. I come from the same generation as you guys, so that's why I guess we understand some of the terminology that people don't even realize anymore.
All right. Kevin Schultz is the chairman of Triad Securities. He's joined us here on PreMarket Prep. Kevin, thanks so much for the time, and be safe out there.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
It's great. We'll get you back again soon.
It's always nice to have the floor guys.
I'm sorry, Dennis.
It's always nice to have the floor. I love having the floor guys on when they come on. When we bring the floor traders, the former floor traders back on, so many good stories from the floor.
All right, I'll try and dig some more up. They're gonna be back on the floor again. What, at the end of May?
Some people are going to be allowed back on the floor. There is a date. It's not for everyone. They're only letting some people on the floor, and the people that are allowed on the floor are not allowed to take public transportation. So May 26th is the day when floor trading will resume. I think each firm is allowed to have a number of reps on the floor, but those people again are not allowed to take the subway to work. They're not allowed to take public transportation, and they're going to see how that goes. But starting May 26th, floor trading will resume again, at least on the New York Stock Exchange.
How do they know how you're getting to work?
That's just what I read as part of the part of the rules. Yeah,
I don't want to see you on a subway.
Okay.
I mean, it's people are going to respect that, I would think, in as best way that they can. Everybody is pretty respectful, to try to minimize whatever they can do to get exposure to this. So you don't want to be just riding the subway. They tell you not to ride the subway. I would hope most traders wouldn't ride the subway. So
you want to talk DraftKings here?
Sure. I mean, this is Doc. It's been moving. It's up here again today. It's just this thing goes up on it's just like, what was the stuff we were saying for a while? Wells Fargo goes down in a down market, down in an up market. DraftKings goes up in an up market, up in a down market. I mean, the stock's been unbelievable. Obviously, we were talking about it on Friday. It was around 25, 26, continues to perform. So here it is. It's up $6. Jason Raznick's hype's up $6 since he was on the show just one day ago, one trading day ago. Unbelievable move for this stock. I mean, again, reopening helps DraftKings. It needs sports. So, this is a story that's been riding up in a lockdown, which is unbelievable. So you think about once, maybe it's going to be buy on news or buy on rumors, sell on news. But, in the matter of, when we actually get sports coming back. But the NHL is working on a plan here. I read that they're getting close to a 24-team playoff, which is going to be very interesting. We know golf, NASCAR is starting back up. We saw the UFC. We're starting to get some sports back. So that's good news for DraftKings. And, this is the way to play on sports betting. On a pullback, I would be a buyer, but not, I'm not chasing. I don't want to chase.
You want to hear something fun? You remember I had my bearish rant a while ago on Churchill Downs. Remember that?
When's the horses coming back?
Well, listen to this, Dennis. So the girls were over for dinner last night, and I've been watching horse racing TV, and they broadcast different races from around the country. So there's always a live race going. So I can't find my password. I break out. Fine. I changed my password, and I said, "Okay, Emily, who do you like in this race?" And so she gave me a horse. And then I looked at a couple other horses, and there was one going off at like 6-1. And so I'm going through it, and then all of a sudden I hear ding, 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 and I got shut out. And Lisa's like, "You always do that to track. You always wait till the last second to get odds, and then you get shut out, and then your horse wins." And that, you know what? That son of a gun, Chimney Rose came in and won. And I'm like, oh, man. I mean, I was just going to bet just a couple shekels. It was no big deal.
You want to wait till the last second so exactly, where the odds, because they're moving. The odds are continuing to move right till the last second. So Joel with the edge, right? Joel will
Yeah.
be sitting there trying to get the edge. He'd be right there trying to get the edge on everybody.
Yeah.
I gotta wait till the very last second to place that bet, so I have the most information before I place the bet. I know where you're thinking. You look for the edge.
In the late money. It was called the late money.
Well, it moves the odds significantly.
The late money does.
Yeah.
And another good story here, and I always tell stories about my dad, but what he used to do in college was there was one track where they were slow to close the windows. Okay. So you could actually bet after the race started. Right?
So Joel's all over that one.
So he would line up.
This guy's got the lead. Let's get on this one.
Let's line up they would line up 3 different people, at the 8th pole, and then one, halfway between that and the betting window, and then someone at the betting window. And if they wanted a certain horse to get off, if he wanted to see if he got off good, then my dad would drop the program. Boom. He would signal the one guy, the other guy would signal to the guy at the window, and then they would make their bets after the race started. Can you imagine now? Because sometimes I make a bet, I'm like, I'm dead meat. I know if my horse breaks out of the gate bad, you know it. Sometimes when you're toast, and sometimes when you have a chance. But that was fun. I'm gonna get my account fired up a little bit sooner. Kentucky Derby's not gonna be till September, I think, though.
It's kind of like that roulette wheel at the casino. They'll spin the wheel, and they'll throw the ball, and then they'll let you bet for a little bit after the ball's already in motion. And there's gamblers out there that think the edge, they're trying to, find a person with a consistent throw, and they'll look where they release the ball from. And that's the probability that it's going to end up in this portion of the wheel. I can remember my buddy in university, Derek, he was actually hired by a professional gambler at the Casino Windsor to go in for 2 hours and track the throws and track, and write down, where the release of these balls was. And then this guy would try to come in and use that information as an edge. And the whole edge was just that the wheel is always in constant motion. And, you release the ball, and where you release that ball from, you can still bet for 20 seconds after the ball's released from the hand. So he's looking and then trying to get those bets on there really fast because he thinks it's going to land in this part of the wheel. I don't know if the guy made money or not, but he was paying my buddy, this was back in 1996, he was paying my buddy $10 an hour to go there and sit down and just write down that little information for 2 hours before he would come in.
That's a great gig if you can get it.
Well, it's good for my buddy. He's like, this is $10 cash an hour. He's like, I got drinking money. I go in there for 2 hours, I get $20. He's like, I can just walk over there. It's good.
Free drinks, $20.
Yeah, not bad. Well, he wasn't getting free drinks because he wasn't playing. He was just writing. They probably didn't like him in there. He's writing down information.
Yeah,
they send the 19-year-old university kid in there to write down the information. So the 19-year-old university kid gets kicked out of the casino.
All right, let's just do one more fast here. Let's just do NVIDIA. They're due to report after the close, I believe, on Thursday, and they're running up here as well.
The stock is just the monster of all monsters, like the king of semis, the king of chips. We were saying it was AMD for a bit. It's been NVIDIA for a while. I screwed this up royally. I bought this stock, and this is why maybe you shouldn't trade your long-term investment account. And we know I bought the stock back on the 2018 dip near the bottom. I think I bought it about $135. I know it got down to 125. I wrote it for a long time. It was supposed to be a core holding, never to be sold from my long-term portfolio. And I got spooked out in this whole coronavirus deal. I watched it go from 300 down to 180, and then it rallied quickly back into the 250 area. And I was like, you know what? I think we could have another leg down. We talked about it back in late March. I was worried about the market still, obviously still worried about the market. And I sold out it there in that area. And now the stock is $350. And I'm like, man, this was a stock that I never wanted to sell, and I did. So moral of the story is your core holdings that you say this wants to be one of my core holdings, don't trade it. And I thought I could get it back cheaper, and I did, and I missed it. Shopify, same story. It was supposed to be a core holding in my portfolio, and I've sold it out because it went too far. Some stocks are trades, some stocks are investments. The one you deem long-term investments, try not to trade them.
All right, Spencer, we'll let you wrap. I'm going to go over to hotmic.io, Joel code 317. I know I missed a lot of issues here in the chat, so I'll try and cover those. As the S&P's just blast to a new high here. Should be an exciting
Holy cow. This market. We're going to that 295. What are we going to do there? But again, I don't like chasing. I'm going to keep saying I don't like chasing. If you are buying this morning, you are full on chasing, like chasing. You were 277. We're up 170 handles here now in 2.5 trading days. hard to make money when you're paying up that much. So I think you may not get another pullback. We don't know. This is really good news today. It wouldn't surprise me if the gains hold. It wouldn't surprise me if you continue to go higher. But there'll be another headline at some point in time where I think you get them cheaper. So I don't think you have to run in here and buy stocks.
All right. Thanks to everyone who joined us today in any of our chats, both on YouTube and on Benzinga Pro and on premarket.benzinga.com. Thanks to our guest, Kevin Schultz. Please remember all the information from this show is meant to be used as informational purposes and not for investing or trading advice. You can catch a podcast or the replay on YouTube. Joel and I will be back at 3:40 p.m. Eastern Time. In the meantime, everyone stay safe and good luck out there. Boom.